Hi, this is John with VersaFeed. Today we're going to be looking at product identifiers, or how to determine when a client sends you a seemingly random alphanumeric set of IDs, what that exactly correlates to. So let's look at a spreadsheet that we received from a client with a few requests. The first request is to remove some items based on these particular IDs. And then there's two additional requests here to add some IDs to different promos. And what you'll notice is that each of the different IDs does appear to be slightly different. So we have to figure out how in the VersaFeed interface to actually enter this data. So here we are in the VersaFeed dashboard, and the first thing we're going to do is take a quick look at how we might go about excluding a product. So we'll click Feeds and Exclusions. We'll then go ahead and click New Exclusion Group. And what you'll see here is that the interface wants to know exactly what criteria we're going to use to remove the items. You can see there's several options here that might be a good fit. Unique ID, manufacturer part number, GTIN, which is also known as a UPC code, or the item group ID. Let's go ahead and talk about these one by one. Unique ID is an identifier for each product which is always going to be unique across every single item in the dataset. This can sometimes be an internal number which has absolutely no bearing on manufacturer part number or UPC code. Manufacturer part number is the part number that's assigned by the actual manufacturer. Sometimes this is unique across every single item, other times it can be shared across certain subsets of items. Next, you have the GTIN or UPC code. This is a 12 or 13 digit code that looks very distinct and is always made exclusively of digits. Lastly, you have the item group ID. The item group ID is often used for clothing or variations in general. For example, if you have a shirt which comes in multiple sizes and colors, every single different size and color across that same shirt would share the same item group ID. So based on this information, how can we determine what these actual numbers inside the Excel spreadsheet refer to? To answer that, let's go ahead and look in a different area in the VersaFeed dashboard. The dashboard will allow us to look at data inside the feed and actually determine what those numbers correlate to. First, let's go ahead and click on Feeds and then Feeds and Imports. In this area, you get a synopsis of all the different feeds that we're generating for you. We're going to be looking at two areas in particular. The first is Search and the second is Summary. So let's go ahead and click the Search button. Now we're actually looking at the data inside the Google feed, and doing so we can see GID. That correlates to the unique ID that we saw before, where every single different item has to have a different ID. You can also see here, if you scroll to the right, the GTIN, also known as the UPC code, and the manufacturer part number. You can also scroll over further and see the item group ID as well. Hopefully this will allow you to see a bit of information on what these different fields look like so you know which to select when you're trying to actually apply promotions or exclude items. Let's go ahead and click back and then actually look at the summary of the feed as well. The summary gives you an overview of each of the different attributes in the field. You can click on each of these to actually jump down and get more details. For example, here's a list of the GID or the unique ID for a subset of items. If you want, you can also take a look at some of the other fields, like, for example, GTIN. Again, a sample of different GTINs that were found within the feed. Or you can look, for example, at manufacturer part number. Hopefully by doing this, you can figure out what the data that you got from your client actually refers to so you can set exclusion rules and promotion rules appropriately. As a recap, let's go ahead and see if we can identify what these numbers are. We saw from looking at the summary and from the feed search that this is very likely the unique ID, also known as the GID. If we look at the promotions, we can pretty clearly see these were very likely UPC or GTIN codes. Lastly, if we look at the other promotions area, it can be a bit confusing. This could have either been item group ID or it could have been MPN. So how do we go about determining which one it really was? Let's go ahead and copy and paste this and go back to the dashboard. In the dashboard, we're going to go back to the Feeds and Imports area, and then we're going to go to Search. We're then going to click the search filter, and we're going to choose which attribute we want to actually look at more closely. Let's go ahead and start with manufacturer part number. We'll go ahead and copy and paste the data in here, and then do Search Feed. As you can see, we didn't get any results, so let's go ahead and try a different search. So we'll change this from MPN to item group ID. And now you can see we actually get some hits. So going back now to the spreadsheet, we can clearly say this is definitely item group ID. Thanks for watching our screencast on product identifiers. I hope this helps you identify which alphanumeric codes refer to which actual product identifiers within the VersaFeed dashboard.